Clemson, again, is overrated. If you look at these rankings with Clemson at 10, they're just not a top 10 team right now. And again, this committee is ranking Clemson based off of the fact that they have been one of the most, along with Alabama, dominant programs in the CFP era. Now, I've seen a lot of Clemson fans online scoff at the nature, like, oh, they got the crying emoji, and they're like, oh, he's calling us a blue blood. Isn't that little old Clemson is a blue blood? Listen, in the last 8 years, Clemson has been a clear number 2 in all of college football to Alabama. I gave you the numbers, by the way. When was it? On Monday's podcast. Let me just revisit these. I'm just going to go back in my trusty book right here. Okay, just go back in my trusty book. Alabama and Clemson, 13 of 32 spots overall in the 8 years of the CFP. That's 41% of playoff participation points, if you want to call them that. That's kind of a weird way. Of participants. There we go. 10 of 16 championship game participants. That's 63%. And 5 of 8 titles between those two teams, Alabama and Clemson. Clemson, 6 of 8 playoff appearances. So, yes, if you take a look at this sliver of history, this snapshot of history, guess what Clemson is? A blue blood. They are at the top end of college football. And this committee is ranking them as if they're one of those teams. But the problem is they're not. Okay, so Clemson loses to Notre Dame, and it wasn't all that close. And the problem isn't that they lost to Notre Dame. It's not it's not that they lost on the road. It's not even their resume overall. Okay, their wins and losses against CFP top 25, they're 2-1. Strength of schedule 55th. They're like, Florida State, good on them, trounced Miami, and then all of a sudden they make an appearance. Clemson's 8-1. So on paper, it looks okay to rank them 10th. But all you've got to do is dig just a little bit deeper, and you realize that team is not anywhere close to what they have been in previous seasons under Dabo Swinney. They ranked, quite simply, the Trevor Lawrence Clemson Tigers and not DJ Uiagalele's Clemson Tigers. Let's just take a look really quickly at the team that they lost to. This is not a Notre Dame team that's making a playoff run, okay? This is a Notre Dame team that is unapologetically and strictly one-dimensional. All they can do is run the football effectively, and they did it really well. Just own Clemson at the line of scrimmage, and that defensive line and that front seven is supposed to be the strength of Clemson's team. Notre Dame's 115th in passing offense. Okay, so they're very one-dimensional. By the way, Notre Dame, they haven't completed over 52% of their passes in any of their last 4 games. So very one-dimensional. And it's not a team that's dominating. They have 3 losses. 3. They lost at home to Marshall. They lost at home to Stanford. Marshall is a team that is 5-4 right now, barely above 500. Stanford's 3-6. Okay, so and it wasn't a close game. Okay, so they lose this game 35-14. And I get it, Notre Dame had, some non-offensive scores, but they were able to get those. And Clemson is just not the same. So they're overrated at this point. Now, what does that mean? Why does it matter? Joel, lub-dub, you're beating a dead horse. Get off of the Clemson thing. Yeah, but there's a larger point here. And the larger point here is that I just don't know how you justify a path to the playoff for the ACC. And in large part, due to the fact that Notre Dame has basically ended the ACC's chances this year, at least in my estimation. Again, I think it would be incredibly hard to justify an ACC team. Just look at the facts. Notre Dame, against every other opponent outside of ACC opponents, is 3-3 with losses to Stanford and Marshall, with only 1 Power 5 win. That was a win against Cal at home. Now, against the ACC, they're 3-0 with wins over Clemson, North Carolina on the road, and Syracuse on the road. Those are 3 of the top 5 teams in the ACC right now, currently. Two of those, North Carolina and Clemson, are probably going to meet, most likely, in the ACC championship game. So there's a good chance that Notre Dame's worst team in the last, 4, 5, 6 years beat the two participants in the ACC championship game and did so handily, one on their turf and the other 35-14. So how do you justify leaving Clemson in a position where they've got a path to the playoff? I find that very hard to believe. I don't see it. I don't see it. For me, if I'm sitting there and I'm evaluating and I'm in the committee room, there's zero chance for the ACC. Now, there might be for some other people in that room. Heck, Boo is the North Carolina State athletic director. So I'm sure some down there are fighting for the ACC. But if you just look at it like that, this conference can't even beat Notre Dame. Their lone chance is going to be now with Boston College. If Boston College doesn't beat Notre Dame, then Notre Dame will be undefeated against the ACC this year, including wins over Clemson and North Carolina, the two participants in the ACC championship game. At that point, I just can't justify in good conscience a path to the playoff for the ACC, nor Clemson. Therefore, I think Clemson a little bit overrated. They're at number 10.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here, College Football on Fox.